Alrighty, we have a very nice wall light here. We bought it at a garage sale, and we're going to put it up in this room because it's kind of dark here. Here in the country I was born in, we use 14 American wire gauge on 15 amps, 12 American wire gauge on 20 amps. Black is live, white is neutral, the bare or the green is the ground. Red and blue are also live colors. However, you may find white live in a 110, 120 volt switch loop or in a 220, 240 volt circuit where the appliance does not require a neutral. So first we'll cut our hole above the box where there's an outlet down below, and we'll mount our switch, and then we'll cut our hole for our light. Okay, our light switch is about 43 inches from the floor to the bottom of our box. So we'll mark it about 43 right here. And our stud is right here. The box is nailed to a stud right there. So we're inside our cavity here. So we'll take our box, we'll put it up onto our mark here, and we'll trace it on the wall. Here, 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 here. We'll go down our sides, and we'll cut across. We'll come up here and we'll cut across here. Now this box has the little tabs that swing out, so you don't have to use the hold-its. So we'll cut our hole. And we'll push our wire up from our outlet there. We'll just make sure our hole is the right size here, and it is perfectly the right size here. So we're going to go up a little here for our tab to go in. So let's go up just a bit right here, and then we'll go do the same thing down here on the opposite side. Then we'll make our little notch for the screw to go into the box. Make sure it's going to fit. I just don't want to cut it too big. Okay, so I'm going to go up just a little bit over here. And go up a little bit here for this little notch here, and I have to do it down here too. See if it's going to fit. Okay, it's going to fit perfectly. So now we'll cut our other hole up above for our light. Okay, so we'll come up here and we'll cut our box out. So we'll stick it about right here. So piece will go down here. So we have to cut it so this will go in like this and go in. And when we tighten our screws, these little tabs will swing out like the other box. This is called a keyhole saw. I'm just going to make sure it's going to fit. Yes, it is. So now we can drop a wire down to go to our switch. What I do, because it's probably hitting something going down, is I'll bend this over so it's rounded so it goes over things easier. And I see it down there. I saw it. Can't be too far away. There it is. There's my wire right there. There it is. So we can put our wire into our box here, like this. push it through the little things in there. Okay, so we'll push our wire over. Push our box in like that. Okay, our box is nice and tight up here, so now we can get our light fixture and hook it up. It's easier just to dump my tool bag out so I'm not pawing through everything. So we'll get our wire stripped here. I'm going to have to check this and make sure I didn't nick the wire underneath. Yes, I did, so I'm going to pull it back further. If I can't, I can't. And I don't get upset. I just do it again, that's all. I just do it again. There we go. Now we got to go back. We clip off all of our debris here. And I'm going to come up to where I nicked. Okay, I nicked the wire up here. So I'm going to just clip it back here. Clip our black and our white. And I'll strip it for our Wago connectors, or levers. Push our bolt our wires that go into our box here. This is our bracket where we screw our light fixture, fasten our light fixture to. Alrighty, so I'll put the black on one side and the white and the ground on our other side. Got it nice and tight. So we got to put our ground wire around our green screw here. Bring our ground wire over. We'll get it around the green screw here, and we'll close our loop so it goes the direction our screw turns. Like that. So we have our white, which is neutral, our black, which is live, and our ground, which is the ground. So now we'll hook our fixture up. Okay, so we'll put our lever connectors on here. We're going to make sure our wires aren't stripped too long. We'll open our lever, push the wire in, make sure our conductor goes up to the top, and our insulation is in this clear piece here. See how the insulation goes up into the clear part? And the insulation, you don't want to get the insulation under the lever either. Make sure the insulation is not under our lever. And our copper is up at the top. Push it up all the way like that. And now we can take our black solid wire going into the and we'll get our ground wire, and we'll have to hook it up with a wire nut here. I'm going to run and grab it. I'm not going to pause the video because I don't want to have it stopping when I don't want it to stop. So I'll wrap our stranded wire around our solid wire like this, nice and evenly like that. And I'm going to go grab a wire nut. it stayed even, we'll stick our wire nut on here. Get it nice and tight. Now we can put our wires into our box here. Get them back out of the way there. Do the same with our black. We'll get our ground wire in here. Notice it can be behind the fixture like this. We'll get our, turn it so we get our light to go up where we want it. Make sure no wires are pinched. And we'll just put our little knob on here. Get it nice and tight. Make sure it's straight. Loosen it up a bit. Tip it back this way. There's straight. Just tighten it up nice and tight. And we just got to get our globes and bulbs on when we're done. So we're going to come out of this outlet here. We're going to pop a hole here. Let's see. Okay, we'll slip our wire up the wall to our light switch box. There it is. So we got our wires to go into our switch box here. So here in the country I was born in, you always switch your black wire for the red or blue, whichever wire is live. And white is the only color that's allowed to be used for a neutral. So we'll use a push-in connector here. We'll strip it with our number 12 hole. Get them the same length there. And I'll hold it up and make sure our insulation is going to get up underneath the orange there. Okay, these are a little long, so I'll take a little off. Not a whole lot. That's the length I want right there. I'll check this one. That's the length I want, so I'll push it in, make sure our copper is up at the top there. And our insulation is going into the red. See how the insulation goes into the red? And you see our copper at the top. So now we can push these white wires back into our box. Now we gotta get our ground wires together. A nice even twist. And we'll cut them so they're all even. See how they're all nice and even on the end there? We'll put our wire nut on here. Okay, now we can fold our ground wires back into our box. I take off about a whole inch so I get a nice wrap around my screws. So we put our ground wire around our green screw here, like this. Close our loop the direction our screw turns. Get it nice and tight like that there. We'll flip it around. Doesn't matter which wire goes on which screw. See how long I got these? I'll take, yeah, I'll get just a little bit more off these so I don't want to risk getting the insulation under the screw, and redoing the loop is always a little bit harder doing it the second time, so get it right the first time so you get a nice loop and get it under the screw, going around the screw, the same direction that the screw turns, like that there. Make sure it's nice and tight like that. So we have a nice connection like that. So now we can just get this up to go back into our box where we want it. So we're going to put our wires in. So we'll keep our ground wire over on this side, and get our wire nut on the other side of our ground wires and our blacks here. Okay, so now I can get the ground back out of the way on this side where I want it. And we'll go down with this one, and we'll come up with this one. And we'll just keep this ground wire over on this side of the switch so it doesn't hit anything we don't want it to hit. Make sure everything's back out of the way there. Our ground wire is not going to be hitting anything we don't want it to hit. Okay, so now we'll come down and hook our outlet up. Let's see if I come into my conductor here. Nope. Okay, we're going to use a green wire nut with a hole in the middle. You only use these on ground wires, not on your conductors. So we'll get them together here. I want to make sure it gets nicely twisted inside the wire nut there. There it is. It's nice and tight in there. So we can fold this in. We'll go up. We'll go like this. Get it back in here out of our way. No, I might have to put it into this way. I just hope it's long enough to go back in there all the way. It is. Okay, so now we can put our white on the silver colored screw here. Take off about an inch. You always put your wire around the screw the direction your screw turns. Like that. We'll take our polarity tester, make sure our white is not live, and we'll flip it around. And we'll make sure our black wire is live, which it is. Maui is. There we go, like that. Just make sure it's tight. We have a good connection. And we're going to put our ground terminal up on the top here, so I'll flip our outlet around this way. And we'll put our ground on the top. It's going to be a little bit too short to put our ground hole down. Close our loop the direction our screw turns. I'll pull forward some so our copper stays under the screw head all the way around. Make sure it's nice and tight, and our copper is under the screw head all the way around. And now we can just put our device into our box. I'll bend it so it goes this way when I push it in. And the black will go down. And we'll finish it by hand so we don't strip our holes out. I'll get it centered on here so it's nice and flat. Make sure our ground wire is staying up away from everything. Our wires are all back in the box the way we want them. We'll put our cover on. Okay, so we gotta level our light again. It's not perfectly straight. Okay, that looks straight. Tighten it up nice. Put our globes on. These are LED light bulbs. They are energy saving and they use much less amperage, and they don't get as hot. And we'll finish off by putting our cover on our light switch. Alrighty, so that is how to install a wall light here in the country I was born in. We use a 14 American wire gauge on 15 amps, 12 American wire gauge on 20 amps. Black is live, white is neutral, the bare or the green is the ground. Red and blue are also live colors. However, you may find white live in a 110, 120 volt switch loop or a 220, 240 volt circuit where the appliance does not require a neutral. Peace. Thanks for watching.